This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Today, a Democracy Now! Special remembering the life of Pete Seeger. The legendary folk singer and activist died Monday at the age of 94. We now return to our interview in 2004 in our Firehouse studio. I asked Pete to talk about his time serving in the military during World War II.
I first wanted to be a mechanic in the Air Force. I thought that'd be an interesting thing. But then military intelligence got interested in my politics. My outfit went on to glory and death, and I stayed there in Keesler Field, Mississippi, picking up cigarette butts for 6 months. Finally, they let me know, yes, they'd been investigating me, opening all my mail.
Pete Seeger, when you came back, they continued to investigate you.
Well, I have assumed most of my life that if there wasn't a microphone under the bed, they were tapping the phone from time to time and opening my mail from time to time. Who knows? But
it was more than that, wasn't it?
Well, sometimes they'd have picket lines out, but you know, in a crazy way, all it did was sell tickets. I remember one concert did not sell out. My manager said, "Pete, we should have gotten the Birches to picket you, then it would have sold out."
I'm looking at a transcript of the House Un-American Activities Committee, August 18th, 1955, when they started off by saying, Mr. Tavener said, "When and where were you born, Mr. Seeger?" You actually answered that question.
Well, I wish I could had been more, spoken up more. I just did what my lawyer, very nice guy, says, don't try to antagonize him. Just don't answer these questions, because if you answer this kind of question, you have to answer more questions. Just say you don't think it's legal. Well, I said, I think I got a right to my opinion, and you have a right to your opinion, period. And so eventually I was called up and sentenced to a year in jail, but my lawyer got me off on bail. I was only in jail for 4 hours, and I learned a folk song. They served us lunch, a slice of bread and a slice of bologna and an apple, and the man next to me was singing, "If that judge believes what I say, I'll be leaving for home today." The man next to him says, "Not if he sees your record, you won't." But that's an old African melody, you know. It's in many, many African-American folk songs.
Now, you were sentenced to a year in jail?
And a year later, the appeals court acquitted me. Ironically, the contradictions of life still amaze me. The judge who acquitted me, the head judge, there were 3 judges, head one was Irving Kaufman, the man who sentenced the Rosenbergs to the chair 10 years earlier. But he acquitted me. He said, "We are not inclined to lightly disregard charges of unconstitutionality, even though they may be made by those unworthy of our respect." However, I feel that both my wife and I feel we're lucky to be alive and lucky to be on good terms with our neighbors. And in the little town where we live, people shout out, "Hi, Pete. Hi, Toshi." And I wish I could live another 20 years just to see things that are happening, because I believe that women working with children will get men to wake up to what a foolish thing it is to seek power and glory and money in your life. What foolish thing. Here we are. There's a politician in my hometown, a very nice guy. He used to be a shop steward for the union in a local factory, but for 20 years he represented our town in the county legislature. And he said, "Pete, if you don't grow, you die." 1 o'clock in the morning, I sat up in bed and thought of the next question. If that's true, if you don't grow, you die, doesn't it follow the quicker you grow, the sooner you die? Nobody is facing up to that question, but it's very definitely true. Now, the first step in solving a problem is to admit there's a problem. Then we can argue about ways it could be solved. I suppose one person say, well, let a few people have trillions of dollars and the rest of the people obediently do the work, and the people in charge will see that everything is done right. On the other hand, I think what was in the Declaration of Independence is true now just as it was then. Those great lines, they're written by Ben Franklin, you know, not Jefferson. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that when any government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
Pete Seeger, can you tell us about We Shall Overcome?
I thought in 1946, when I learned it from a white woman who taught in a union labor school, the Highlander Folk School in Tennessee, that the song had been made up in 1946 by tobacco workers, because they sang it out there to strike through the winter of 1946 in Charleston, South Carolina. And they taught the song to Zilphia Horton, the teacher at the labor school, and she said, oh, my favorite song. And I printed it in our little magazine in New York, People's Songs, as We Will Overcome in 1947. It was a friend of mine, Guy Carawan, who made it famous. He picked up my way of singing it, We Shall Overcome, although there was another teacher there, Septima Clark, a black woman. She felt that shall, like me, she felt it opened up the mouth better than will. So that's the way she sang it. Anyway, Guy Carawan in 1960 taught it to the young people at the founding convention of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC for short. And a month later, it wasn't a song, it was the song throughout the South. Only 2 years ago, I get a letter from a professor in Pennsylvania who uncovered an issue of the United Mine Workers Journal of February 1909. And the letter there on the front page says, last year at our strike, we opened every meeting with a prayer and singing that good old song, We Will Overcome. So it's probably a late 19th century Union version of what was a well-known gospel song. I'll overcome, I'll overcome, I'll overcome someday.
You sang it for Martin Luther King?
In 1957, I went down to Highlander. Zilphia was dead, and Miles Horton, her husband, said, we can't have a celebration of 25 years of this school without music. Won't you come down and help lead some songs? So I went down, and Dr. King and Reverend Abernathy came up from Alabama to say a few words, and I sang a few songs, and that was one of them. Ann Braden drove King to a speaking engagement in Kentucky the next day, and she remembers him sitting in the back seat saying, we shall overcome. That song really sticks with you, doesn't it? But he wasn't the song leader. It wasn't until another 3 years that Guy Carawan made it famous.
Even as you're singing songs like that, it has also often been seen as a tremendous threat to the establishment. And in 1963, the Fire and Police Research Association of Los Angeles warned before one of your appearances, Pete Seeger, that folk music and youth gatherings were being used to brainwash and subvert vast segments of young people's groups.
Oh, poor... I hope they've learned a little different now. That's 40 years ago, 41 years ago. But the establishment has always been concerned about music. I've quoted Plato for years, who wrote, it's very important that the wrong kind of music not be allowed in the Republic. And I've also heard there's an old Arab proverb, when the king puts the poet on his payroll, he cuts off the tongue of the poet. During the 1930s, I was very conscious that radio stations played nice love songs and funny songs, but only by accident did a song like Brother Can You Spare a Dime get through. The other songs tend to be more like Bing Crosby's hit of 1933, I think. Wrap your troubles in dreams, dream your troubles away. That's how we're going to lick the Depression?
We're talking to Pete Seeger, and on this allmusic.com bio of you, it says, Pete Seeger's adherence to the sanctity of folk music came to a boiling point with the advent of folk rock, and it's long been rumored that he tried to pull the plug on Bob Dylan's very electrified set with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band in 1965. Is that true?
No. It's true that I don't play electrified instruments. I don't know how to. On the other hand, I've played with people who play them beautifully, and I admire some of them. Howling Wolf was using electrified instruments at Newport just the day before Bob did. But I was furious that the sound was so distorted you could not understand a word that he was singing. He was singing a great song, Maggie's Farm, a great song, but you couldn't understand it. And I ran over to the sound man and said, fix the sound so you can understand him. And they hollered back, no, this is the way they want it. I don't know who they was. But I was so mad, I said, damn, if I had an axe, I'd cut the cable right down. I really was that mad. But I wasn't against Bob going electric. Matter of fact, some of Bob's songs are still my favorites. What an artist he is. What a great... I'd say maybe he and Woody and Buffy St. Marie and Joni Mitchell and Malvina Reynolds are the greatest songwriters of the 20th century. Even though Irving Berlin made the most money, they wrote songs that were trying to help us understand where we are, what we got to do. Still writing them.
1967, you made your stand against the Vietnam War clear on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Can you talk about that?
Well, the Smothers Brothers were a big, big success on CBS television, and way back the year before, I think in the spring of 67, they said, CBS says, anything we can do for you, you're right at the top. What can we do to make you happier? And they said, let us have Seeger on. And CBS said, well, we'll think about it. Finally, in October, they said, okay, you can have him on. And I sang this song, waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on. The tape was made in California, flown to New York, and in New York they scissored the song out. And now the Smothers Brothers took to the print media and said, CBS is censoring our best jokes. They censored Seeger's best song, and they got some publicity. And during November, December, January, the arguments went on. Finally, in February, late January of '68, CBS said, okay, he can sing the song. On 6 hours' notice, I flew out to California. I remember singing a batch of songs from American history, songs from the Revolution. Why come ye hither, redcoats, you mind what madness fills? In our forest there's danger in our hills, for the rifles, the rifles in our hands shall prove no trifle. I think I mentioned the hit song of 1814. It was the hit song. Oh, say, can you see? And the song of the Mexican War, green grow the lilacs, all sparkling with dew, a love song. That's why Yankees are called gringos in Mexico, from that song. And, of course, the Civil War, several good songs, not just Battle Hymn of the Republic, but a batch of them. The Spanish-American War, Oscar Brand taught me this song. American soldiers in the Philippines were singing, damn, damn, damn the Filipinos, cross-eyed, cocky-act ladrone, and beneath the starry flag civilize them with a crag and go back to our own beloved home. I didn't sing that. But along come modern times. I sang waist deep in the Big Muddy, and this time only a station in Detroit cut it out. But the rest of the country heard it, so 7 million people heard it. Who knows? Later that month, in late February, Lyndon Johnson decided not to run for re-election. Song would be probably just one more thing. I honestly believe that the future is going to be millions of little things saving us. I imagine a big seesaw, and at one end of this seesaw is on the ground with a basket half full of big rocks in it. The other end of the seesaw is up in the air. It's got a basket 1/4 full of sand. And some of us got teaspoons and we're trying to fill up sand. A lot of people are laughing at us. They say, oh, people like you have been trying to do that for thousands of years, and it's leaking out as fast as you're putting it in. But we're saying we're getting more people with teaspoons all the time. And we think one of these years you'll see that whole seesaw go zoo in the other direction. And people say, gee, how did it happen so suddenly? Us and all our little teaspoons. Now, Grant, we got to keep putting it in, because if we don't keep putting teaspoons in, it will leak out, and the rocks will go back again. Who knows?
Do you see those cracks, those places today in mass media? I know you don't watch TV and all that, but for example, you going on Smothers Brothers, do you think that it is as constricted today?
Not as constricted, no. There's all sorts of little things going on. I understand this program may be on some TV stations. I've got to find out where, when, so I can see it. You're right, I don't look at TV much except to check on the weathers for my skating rink. And I'm a readaholic. I'm a magazine-aholic. I get 40 or 50 magazines a month. And read music magazines, environmental magazines, union magazines, civil rights magazines. Who knows?
That's Pete Seeger in our Firehouse studio in 2004. The legendary folk singer and activist died Monday at the age of 94. We continue remembering Pete in his own words and song.